The moment changed everything when a small, trembling hand tugged at the sleeve of a man who no longer believed he mattered, and in that single heartbeat, a broken angel was asked to pretend to be something he thought he had lost forever. The city roared around them with indifference, rain streaking the sidewalks like tears no one bothered to wipe away, and yet in that crowded place, fate narrowed its focus to one exhausted man and one terrified little girl whose eyes carried more fear than most adults ever admit to knowing. Before the story pulls you any deeper, take a second to pause right here. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, in the idea that broken people can still become miracles for others, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world. His name was Daniel Cross, though most people simply passed by him without noticing. He was tall but slightly bent forward, as if the weight of life had curved his spine. Once, he had been a firefighter, the kind who ran into smoke while others ran out, the kind children drew pictures of in school. That was before the night everything burned down, before a ceiling collapsed, before screams were replaced by silence he could never escape. After the investigation, the medals, and the therapy sessions that didn't work, Daniel walked away from the uniform, from the station, and eventually from the version of himself that believed he could save anyone. Now he worked nights as a janitor in a downtown office building, slept days in a narrow apartment with peeling paint, and avoided mirrors because they reminded him of someone he no longer recognized. That afternoon, he had finished an early shift and stopped at the old bus terminal to escape the rain. The place smelled of wet concrete and stale coffee, filled with people dragging luggage and heavier lives. Daniel stood near a vending machine, staring blankly, when he felt that tug. The girl couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. Her jacket was too thin for the cold, her hair uneven like someone had cut it in a hurry, and her backpack looked far too big for her small shoulders. Her eyes locked onto his face not with hope, but with desperation, the kind that makes adults uncomfortable because it demands something real. She didn't speak out loud in that moment, but her lips moved just enough for him to understand what she needed. She wanted him to act like her dad. Behind her, a man loomed too close, his presence heavy and wrong, his attention fixed on her in a way that made Daniel's chest tighten. Daniel had learned to ignore instincts, to tell himself he was no longer the hero type, but something ancient and untrained surged through him. He didn't think. He didn't plan. He simply stepped forward and placed himself between the girl and the danger she felt but couldn't name. Daniel rested a hand on her shoulder, gentle but firm, the way he used to guide people through smoke-filled hallways. He straightened his back and lifted his chin, letting the posture of authority return to his body like muscle memory. The man behind her hesitated, scanning Daniel's face, calculating. Whatever he saw there made him back away and melt into the crowd. The girl didn't relax immediately. She stayed frozen, as if afraid that safety might vanish the moment she believed in it. Daniel guided her to a bench and sat beside her, keeping his body angled protectively. He learned her name from the tag inside her backpack. Emily Harper. Inside were a wrinkled sweater, a half-empty water bottle, and a folded piece of paper with an address smudged by rain. Emily had been separated from her mother in the chaos of the terminal. Her phone was missing. Her voice shook when she tried to explain, and every sound around them made her flinch. Daniel listened, really listened, in a way he hadn't done for anyone in years. As time passed, something subtle shifted inside him. The numbness he carried like armor began to crack. Emily leaned closer, trusting him without fully understanding why, and that trust terrified him more than the flames ever had. He stayed with her, spoke to security, waited through long minutes that felt like hours. When her mother finally arrived, breathless and crying, the relief was so intense it left Daniel dizzy. Emily clung to him one last time before being pulled into her mother's arms, and in that brief embrace, Daniel felt something unlock inside his chest that he expected that to be the end of it, a strange moment he would carry quietly like all the others. But life had other plans. A week later, Daniel received a letter at his apartment. It was from Emily's mother, Sarah Harper. She thanked him for protecting her daughter and explained that Emily hadn't stopped talking about him, calling him the angel who pretended to be her dad. Sarah invited him for coffee, not out of obligation, but gratitude. Daniel stared at the letter for a long time before finally saying yes. Their first meeting was awkward and careful, two adults circling shared emotion they didn't yet have words for. Sarah was a nurse, worn thin by double shifts and single parenting. Her husband had died 2 years earlier in a highway accident, leaving her and Emily navigating grief together. Daniel didn't share much at first, but Sarah noticed the way he watched Emily with quiet concern, how he flinched at sudden noises, how his kindness seemed practiced yet wounded. Weeks turned into months. Coffee became dinners. Dinners became routines. Daniel helped Emily with homework, fixed a broken cabinet in the apartment, walked them home when Sarah worked late. He never tried to replace anyone. He never assumed a role. And yet, slowly, he became part of their world. Emily started sleeping through the night. Sarah laughed more easily. And Daniel began to feel something he thought was gone forever, usefulness. The past didn't disappear. Daniel still woke from nightmares, still carried guilt like a shadow. But now, when the memories came, there was a reason to face the morning. There was a child who looked for him in a crowd, a woman who believed in his goodness even when he doubted it himself. The man who once ran from burning buildings found himself learning how to stand still and stay. The real shock came a year later, on a sunny afternoon at a school event. Daniel stood at the edge of the playground, watching Emily race toward him, her face bright and fearless. She reached him and wrapped her arms around his waist, introducing him to her friends as her dad without hesitation, without fear. Daniel felt his vision blur. No one corrected her. Sarah met his eyes from across the field and nodded, tears shining, a silent understanding passing between them. Life doesn't always announce its miracles with thunder. Sometimes it whispers them through small hands and frightened eyes in a crowded place. Daniel never wore wings, never asked for praise. But in saving a child for a moment, he had unknowingly saved himself for a lifetime. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can grow from the unlikeliest moments, please take a moment now to like the video, share it, and let others feel this hope too. Your engagement helps stories like this reach people who need them most. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, because your words might be the light someone else is searching for. And as the screen fades and the noise of the world returns, remember this: sometimes the bravest thing an angel can do is simply stay when someone asks them to pretend, and in doing so, become real.